Hi, you're watching WordWise Living. On this episode, we're asking the question, how does the heart change? In our series entitled From the Very Beginning, we're looking to Genesis, the very beginning of the Bible, for help and hope and wisdom for living. In Genesis, we are told that when God speaks, He turns darkness to light, chaos to order, and fills the emptiness with life. And He's still speaking today to us through His Word. In Genesis, we are told who we are, and that being created in His image, we are to live for His glory, to declare who the King is and what His kingdom is like. In Genesis, we are told about sin and what it causes. And Genesis also tells us where sin resides, in the human heart. Well, the heart is going to be the topic of this video as well. Now, I want to anchor this video in the Word of God, and so this focus on the heart comes from Genesis chapter 6, verse 5. And it says this, "The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on the earth." Now, note, He doesn't cite murder or stealing or violence or abuse. No, how does the Lord describe this wickedness? It says this, "And that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time." Well, in a previous video, I shared 5 truths of the human heart, not the blood-pumping organ, but rather the control center of our thoughts and feelings and choices. And you can find the link to that video in the description. But one of those points shared in that video was that change must happen at the heart level. It's not enough to simply change your behavior, but change must take place at the heart level. So, how does the heart change? Well, it's important to understand that every heart has a proverbial throne. Whatever is seated on that throne, you will serve, obey, seek to please, seek to satisfy or obtain. Whatever is on that throne is the driving, ruling reason for why you do what you do. And any number of things could be on the throne of your heart, but as a Christian, only one thing should be on that throne. There is only one that you should seek to serve, obey, and satisfy, and that is Christ. But the difference between what should be and what is can be very dramatic, and so are its effects. Christians can find themselves being ruled for a time or in certain situations by something other than Christ. Now, this begs the question then, how does the human heart change? Can a person change what their heart is ruled by? Well, the answer to that is yes. I want to share with you an idea that was most famously put forward by a Puritan named Thomas Chalmers. He wrote a book, and in that book, he was expounding upon 1 John 2:15, which says, "Do not love the world or anything in the world, for if anyone loves the world, love for the Father is not in them." Well, Chalmers poses the question, how does a heart that loves the world cease loving the world and begin to love Christ? Well, of course, there are 2 ways that one could go about doing this. The first one would be to point out all of the folly or the worthlessness or the error of the world by showing that the world is not worthy of our affection. Or, and this is the approach that Chalmers puts forward, or by showing the surpassing worth, wisdom, and wonder of Christ. Chalmers calls this the expulsive power of a new affection. You see, the human heart will not easily evict a ruling desire and then just leave an empty throne. So it's not simply the removal of one ruling affection of the heart, but instead it is the replacing of a ruling affection with a greater affection. It's not enough simply to kick one habit. Chances are another habit will take its place. If someone gives up abusing alcohol, they might turn to gambling. Or if they overcome an addiction to drugs, they may pick up drinking or some other controlling habit. Chalmers says it like this: "Such is the grasping tendency of the human heart that it must have something to lay hold of. If this object is simply wrestled away without the substitution of another in its place, it will leave a void and a vacancy as painful to the mind as hunger is to the body." Think about this. It's when our children, you ever notice how your kids, when they're young, they go from watching one television program to all of a sudden having a new favorite television program? Is it that they became disenchanted with the first one? They became bored with it? Not likely. More so, the case is they became enthralled with something new, with something fresh, something that grabbed their attention in a new and wondrous way. What we value, what we find worthy, and what we find wonderful, that will rule our hearts. Paul alludes to this in 2 Corinthians 3:18, though he doesn't speak specifically of the heart, yet in principle I think it's true. He says this, "And we all, with unveiled face, beholding the glory of the Lord, are being transformed into the same image from one degree of glory to another." The idea is this: as we behold the glory of Christ, as we gaze into his glory, as we consider all that he is and does and will do, as we behold his character and his heart, as we ponder his life and death for us, as we contemplate his grace to us, we won't have to begrudgingly reject the world and what it offers. No, we will joyfully replace it with the glory of Christ. The heart will change when it becomes enthralled by a greater affection. Do you want to change your heart? Well, first, begin with prayer and ask for God's help. This is not entirely a human endeavor. And then second, begin to gaze into the glory of Christ. Wonder at the works of God. Value his word and savor his spirit. And as the old hymn says, "And the things of this earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace." Well, I want to thank you for watching this episode. If you've appreciated the content, please subscribe for more. Give it a like and share it with someone to whom it might benefit. I'm Don Chapin. This is Word Wise Living. Thanks for watching.